The era of new media art means that with new media techniques, the presentation of digital or traditional art combines extensive and real-time participation and discussion. So while developing self-awareness, learners can strengthen their ability to collect knowledge and their ability to think independently about problems. In addition to the accumulation of core abilities needed for art, new education will also advance with the times, exhibiting a learning attitude of not fearing change but staying the same. While constantly searching for the connection between changes in creative media and changes in innovative art, we will find thought, digital tool preparation, a sense of accomplishment, and possibilities for all kinds of breakthroughs. Hello everyone! Now we will use the Smoothie 3D platform to create a 3D model and put this model onto the Sketchfab platform to exhibit. First, let's enter the Smoothie 3D platform and create an account. Completely fill in all of the information to register. There is an important point here. There are terms of service. This kind of platform is a free platform, so it can be used for education, and it can be used commercially. Since it is free for use, the owner of the website cannot guarantee that users' created data can be preserved permanently. So please be sure to make additional backups for your creations. After completing registration, please log into the account you just created. After you enter the platform, you can see the first row of information here. This is digital content created by all of the users of this platform. You can click to view whenever you like. Underneath is a 3D model of a squirrel created by the website owners. You can click on it later and view the details about it. On the top here is an instructional video. After you click, you can see that it has more detailed operation instructions for each function. So, if you need to understand more, you can spend some time watching these videos. Now, we want to customize our account. We select Account in the upper right corner. Choose Change Photo. After you click Change Photo, we can select our avatar. Now you can complete the changes. Click Finish. Our first step of creating and logging into a Smooth 3D account has been completed. Now we will use functions of the Smoothie 3D platform to create a 3D model. First, create a new project in the upper left corner. After clicking, a completely empty workspace will appear. In the menu, in the upper left, select Image. Choose to add a background. Now select an image. For this picture, I suggest using an image that is square. We can use traditional media or the internet to find an image. Or you can take a picture or edit it yourself. After adding the image, we can then use the 3D object creation functions. In the upper left corner, we can see that there is a control area. This control area includes rotation tools and movement tools. When we click on it, it will change color, which means that this tool is active. So after you click on the rotational tool, please make sure to click inside of this box. So if I want to rotate, I click the Rotate tool, and then here it will start the rotating view mode. If I click the Movement tool, then in this area it will produce a movement function. If you want to go back to the front view, please look in the area on the right. There is an option for front view. Click it, and it will produce the front view effect. This is left view. This is right view. This is bottom view. This is top view. This is back view. So for front viewing and back viewing, they are opposites. Now this middle part is for creating objects. You can create cubes, spheres, cylinders, pyramids, and text. This is a tool for creating models. You can create smooth objects with this by outlining them. This creates objects with depth. This creates an object that is rotated around a center. After we have a basic understanding of the operating tools, we can start to create. First, we can use the middle button of the mouse to zoom in and out. The middle button is movement of the scroll wheel, so you can zoom. It zooms according to the degree that you move it, creating a proportional zoom effect. Together with our movement tool, we can move and display the details that we want. First, we use the free creation tool to circle objects. Let's circle the bird's head first. Circle it like this. After you circle it, basically there is no way to see its thickness from the front view. So we use the rotation tool to change the angle, to ensure that it is the thickness we want. So after we choose the rotation tool, do a simple rotation to check out its thickness. As it rotates, you can see its axis of rotation making a change. In this situation, you can see that its y-axis and x-axis currently show the x-axis as red and the y-axis as green. When I turn the angle, you can see that a blue color appears. This belongs to the z-axis, or its depth. So actually, you can see its axial change. This will help us later, when we want to do some editing to an object. If we want to scale its thickness in this rotation state, its thickness is controlled by the z-axis, or its depth axis. So this circle on the outside, here there is a circle on the outer arc. It refers to its depth control. So we click on the arc of the circle, perform a depth control, and adjust it to the depth we need. Here on top, it's the same. This belongs to the y-axis depth control. The top belongs to the y-axis depth control. The horizontal axis refers to the z-axis depth control movements. This is the y-axis depth control movements. After clicking front view, we can ensure that this object is in the position that we need it to be in. So, we can make some slight adjustments. This is x-axis movement. This is y-axis movement. We can move it to a more correct place and make adjustments. If there are some places that you want to trim the edges or you want to do some additional adjustments, you can switch to a view mode where you can control contour. Click it. Now you will see its contour appear. There are a lot of dots. Actually, while you are in this editing mode, it will be very difficult to click it. So please first click Bezier mode. then carry out a Bezier curve mode adjustment. Basically, when we have it within a certain range and the designed object meets our needs, we can click OK. Then, turn off the contour editing mode. Now the shape editing has been completed. Next, we turn it to see whether this shape is what we want. In the same way, let's go back to front view and perform the second step of editing. So, in the same way, we go back to the movement tool and we slightly move our object. Now, we freely circle the object. This is its mouth. So in the same way, we can go through editing to make adjustments to how it is displayed. When finished, select OK, and then close. Now you can see that its shape has been changed. Again, rotate to look at its details. This shape is complete. Now we'll do the bottom part of the mouth. So when outlining, you have to pay special attention to how you want to plan your object and how you want to split it up. It will all affect the details of how your final results are displayed. So you should pay close attention. Let's rotate to look at how it is. This part of the mouth is relatively thick, so we will use the Z-axis to reduce it a little. We'll put it back to the range it should be in and make an adjustment. If the top is relatively narrow, we can make it thicker. While you are using the program, you should notice that there's no way to undo a previous action. So if you make a mistake, please remove it. After it is correct, then do the editing operations. If there is a mistake, then remove it, just like this. Next, let's do some of the upper parts in detail. The body is done the same way. According to its sections, we do some simple adjustments. You will see that the bigger the object we outline, the bigger the volume it displays. So you have to do an appropriate scaling adjustment to avoid the shape of the object being too big and then being entirely deformed. Linking areas like this can also be selected by outlining. If it's too small, we can enlarge it and adjust it. Here, we can see that its wing is displayed, so we can additionally outline this feathered part. Now, let's turn it. We can move it along the Z-axis. You can see that it has a very large amplitude because the area we outlined was relatively large. So, the volume it generated was automatically larger. So now we need to scale it down. If we have done too much, we can press Remove to get rid of it. Now select OK to make the adjustment. Adjust the scale. Scale. Now move it. Move it. Frequently rotate it to look at how it is displayed. It also has a wing on its other side, so we need to reflect this wing over on the opposite side. We need to mirror it. So we need to choose symmetry and then the z-axis as our basis for mirroring. Right now, it isn't correct. You need to select Z and it'll move over. If you select Y, then it will reflect top to bottom because Y refers to that axis. So we are going to reflect it over the Z axis. So Y is up and down. Z is front and back. X is left and right. So you can see the differences in symmetry. So we want to choose Z now. Z symmetry. You can see that one of its effects is that it follows when you move it. It goes in the opposite direction. Now, if you want to display a changed angle in the view, you first need to lock this texture because currently the way all of the models generate stickers is by projection. So, when you move something, you will see that the projection is projecting the background image behind it. This isn't what we want. So now if I lock it, if I lock the texture, that means that this texture won't move. If it won't move, then no matter how we move it, its projection won't change. For me, this is more convenient. Then, after we rotate, we want to change this angle. When we turn it, this is the scaling arc. This is the movement arc. Rotation is here on this origin of the axis. This origin is rotation. This uses the z-axis to rotate. It uses z as the axis to rotate. This is the y-axis rotation. So, you can see the difference between them. If you want to use the x-axis to rotate, you just have to change the direction to the red block to rotate on the x-axis. So, you can move it slightly here to make it feel that there's a little bit of difference. Frequently click Front View. It will display it from the very front. Now we can finish the tail part at the back. We'll finish the tail. Here you can also use the freestyling tool to circle its tail. So select it and then you can split it into a few sections so that it looks like it has more layers. You can even give it some depth. Give it some depth so it has a relatively different effect. You can give it some different areas with regards to its thickness. Now we will finish the connected part of the tail. We'll finish the tail. In the same way, we select the connected section of the tail. If you go over, basically, it won't show that texture. So, it will look a little like something is missing. But it's okay. It's okay. We can do a basic adjustment to what it is displaying. You can slightly shift what it displays. You can also use symmetry. That is, use the z-axis to mirror it, and then turn it on the x-axis to make it open up. So you can slightly turn it and then use the x-axis to make it open up. You can see clearly that it has a tail behind it now. It now has a tail behind it. Again, we return to front view. Here, its wings have some other parts. Let's outline them for it. Here, there is a connected part of the wing. After we rotate, we can see its depth. Let's adjust its size and then move it here. Just turn it slightly. Turn it slightly. And here, again, after we use Fix Texture to lock it, we will turn it a little and then we can make it connect. Make it connect, and then you can see that its original wing now has an additional feather and it connects to its tail. Let's move it a little bit. And then we can do the Z-axis symmetry. This pretty much completes this effect. There's also a feather here. I think it can also be connected. It can also be connected. So, in the same way, return to front view. Then outline this feather here. Of course, you can make it a little longer, as it has a connection that will have an effect. We pull it out, and then we flatten it. Flatten it. After we flatten it, we fix its texture. After we fix its texture, we move it out. We move it out, and let's look at it. It could be moved along the x-axis a little more. Move it a little more. It could even be expanded, and we could do some placement adjustments to break its original, relatively standard feeling. And now Z-symmetry should be the same. Click it. Like that. It is becoming more and more detailed. And as there are more details, you can control the effect of what you see, and the visual effect will be better. Now we're turning it on the Y-axis. You can make some suitable adjustments for effect. Let's go back to front view. There is a foot part here. We might need to think about how to make it complete. Ordinarily, birds have 4 toes. They have 4 toes. These we might have to draw additionally. Here, from the perspective of our creation, we use the freestyling tool to outline it. Outline it. After outlining it, you can see that its basic shape has appeared. The basic shape has appeared. Let's do some simple movements because there are 2 feet. So we can do some simple movements and then copy it over to the Z-axis. Copy it over to the Z-axis. And now, if we don't want to draw another, we can select Duplicate to copy it. Move it out. Now you will see that it has 2 feet. 2 feet have appeared. You can make some slight adjustments. So on the axis, you can give it some simple rotation. Rotation. With the Z part, we can give its angle a little change. So we need to fix the texture. Then Z can be slightly adjusted. Y can also adjust its angle of opening. Because at the front it's a bit more open, it's a bit easier to grasp things. Now we will finish its feet, just like this, and then for the length of the foot we return it to front view. In this photo, we don't have any way to fully show its legs because its feathers cover them up. Therefore, we will take part of the wood and use it to create legs. So, we choose the freestyling tool and select a section. Of course, depending on the actual situation, we can adjust it slightly, or we can choose tools here to make some adjustments. If you can't draw it well, or if you aren't able to manage this with ease, you can actually use some basic modeling tools to complete it. I'll delete this first. By this so-called basic modeling tool, I mean the cylinder tool. It creates a cylinder. A cylinder. So here you can basically do some simple scaling operations and move it. Then you can put it at a relatively suitable angle and position. Angle and position. We need to pay attention to the depth here. It hasn't been adjusted, so we need to scale it. We need to do some scaling of it. Like that, we have finished its leg. Remember to fix the texture. So you have to lock the texture in place. And then we move it. Now you can see that we can adjust this content and align it with the joints of its feet. Above, we can do some simple operations here. Click it, and then scale it. It can also be moved slightly. In the same way, we will do Z-axis placement. We will copy it over to create this kind of an effect. We can also move it slightly here. We also need to make a connection here. So, if we want to do it in a lot of detail, there are a lot of things that we can do. So here we use the freestyling tool again to shape it. Roughly this area. You can see that we have already generated an object. After you fix the texture, move it. This is a little more natural. Its feet aren't directly sticking out. Then we can do Z-symmetry to copy it over. We can also add other modifications. For instance, this part of its head. For example, here there are relatively more feathers. They stick out more. Now let's turn a little and we can do a little bit of modifications. Some modifications. Or we can just make a whole ring. Let's make a ring. For instance, we can add a whole ring here. Then we can rotate and check. Then for its width, we can add it like this. And the most important part are its eyes. Its eyes should definitely be protruding. So we can use this sphere tool to make a sphere. This sphere tool, in the same way, you first scale it. First scale it to the range we need. Then move it. This is too much. This was an accident. Let's move it. Move it to its eye. And position it. It might need to be shrunk more. If it isn't lined up right, it will be like that. So remember, you need to line it up accurately. Line it up well. Do it accurately. Move it. Then we rotate. This bulge is okay. Just adjust it on the Z-axis and put it in a normal place for the eye part. Of course, you can make adjustments. Like that. Basically, it can fit a more realistic display model. Just move it a little. After moving it, we can mirror it. So we select Z symmetry and mirror it over. Just slightly adjust its depth. There's obviously a limit to how much the eyes should protrude, so we make a slight adjustment. So it might look like this. Of course, there are a lot of details that we can add. You can always add them. You can make it more complete this way. Remember, whether you are done or half done, please be sure to save the file. This file basically exists on the online platform. So basically, on this platform, it won't exist forever because it can't give you that kind of guarantee. So please be sure to keep additional backups. The current setting is public, so it's open. Now select the animal category. Now you can tag, for example, some other types of information. First, save it. After saving, this stage is now finished. Next is the final step of Smoothie 3D. First, we check to see if there are any defects in our 3D model or places that need to be supplemented. You can use the rotation tool to check it over. If there are no problems, you can choose Exchange to output an OBJ file. After you click Export to OBJ, it will download 3 files. One is a JPEG image file, one is an MTL file, and the last one is an OBJ model file. You must have each of these files. Store them carefully. Later, we will upload them to the Sketchfab platform to exhibit. In this unit, we learned how to use the Smoothie 3D platform to create a 3D model. Now we have 3 questions for each of you to respond to. First, freeware refers to software for which you don't need to purchase a license, but there are some limits to its use. Which of the following is false? A. It is forbidden to take apart the software to study software writing. B. It is only for academic and educational purposes. C. It is forbidden to modify the original code of the software. D. Secondary distribution of the software to others is forbidden. Now, the OBJ file format is a 3-dimensional geometric image data format. Which of the following information is not included? A. UV position. B. Polygons. C. Specific units. D. Vertex position. Lastly, according to the Smoothie 3D license, which of the following is false? A. The website owner guarantees that the functions in the software will meet the needs of users. B. The website owner reserves the right to modify the software. C. The website owner will not be liable for any damages. D. Commercial users should cite the software name carefully.